What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Jack Ramsays. Danny Marang, following the Portland Trailblazers' first victory of the season against the New Orleans Pelicans. I guess it's their first victory against the Pelicans, and it's their first victory of the season. So that's a thing that happened. It was a 123-105. Oh my God, I'm totally blanking on the final score now because my stupid tab closed right as I launched the show. 125-103. There we go. I forgot the two free throws at the end there by Jabari. 125-103. We'll dive into tonight's game. We'll dive into Friday night's game, some news, notes, trends, and then I've got a handful of questions from you guys that we went for. And we'll get into as many of those things as we can. Leslie says, Danny, do a watch party from the studio tomorrow. Wink, wink, nod, nod. That's what I'm hoping to do. So when I said that we try to do something for away games, that's my hope. I need to get it okay by my new overlords at K2. I don't think it'll be a problem, but have Joe and Tyree kind of join in, and you guys can interact with us there, and then carry it over to the postgame show is kind of the plan, to be honest. I think it'd be kind of cool. So I guess that's quasi-breaking news there. For those of you that have watched the show, Rip City Wrap-Up with Joe Simons and Tyree Smith, I appreciate you. Thank you, guys. We were on the big K2 tonight, so if you saw there, you saw the luscious. It's the flow is, it's there. Full disclosure, before we dive into the basketball stuff, my new boss at K2 may or may not have been like, "Hey, can we go without the hat?" And I thought, okay, I'll do the hair, thinking there's a 0% chance that they'll be like, "Oh, that looks good," and instead they're like, "We dig the Kenny Powers look," so now I'm kind of stuck with it. So, yes, Michael, it is Danny After Dark. That's going to be hopefully a theme this year. I won't do them every game. As a lot of you know, I live in Newburgh. It is an hour away from the east side after games, so I get home at like 12:30 to 1, and that's just... I tried to do a couple of those last year, and I was delirious, so I'm just not going to do those this year. But the plan is to do these frequently as time allows, especially if there's a road trip, East Coast game, something like that. It makes it possible. So I appreciate you guys. Thank you. Like, rate, review, subscribe. I've seen the subscriber numbers like jumping back up. I really appreciate it. As a bunch of people said, the content is coming out. I'm trying to crank out as much content for you guys as possible. I'm really just getting into all of it right now. My wife is probably not thrilled about it, but here we are. I am trying to crank out at least one game article, as well as probably some weekly stuff, some bigger scope stuff. I'm working on something right now that I'm getting some quotes and some background, some information from DeAndre Ayton, Scoot Henderson, developing pick and roll stuff. Chris Murray about his no-dip three-pointer. I've got a couple different stories that I'm working on. I'm not Jason Quick or Sean Hyken or any of those guys that do long-form type stuff, but I'm trying to delve more into that, but on the data analytics and the hard basketball side, while those guys do the storytelling because that's what they're good at. I am not. So I will continue to bring you as much content as I can. And, of course, I will have noon to 3 with my co-host Dusty Hera on 1080 The Fan, and then Rip City Wrap-Up following every game on the K2 family of networks. And I think I've done all the business stuff now. So let's dive into the game, or games. I don't want to spend too much time on the Warriors game, at all, because they just got punched in the face, and I don't think they ever recovered. That was unfortunate. I know a bunch of people are already going to be like, fire Chauncey! And it's let's ring that bell already. Ding, the season's here. If the mood turns into what it was against the Warriors, then you can start having those discussions. But I think the last two games against the Pelicans, that's more what I expect from this team this season. Being aggressive, being forceful, everybody kind of pulling in the same direction. And even if the shots don't fall, you understand kind of what they're trying to do and what they're trying to accomplish. And if that happens, they don't need to, nor will they make a change at the coaching spot during the season. If it goes another way, we can have that discussion when it gets there. But game one against the Pelicans on Friday night, I thought they came out with the requisite intensity and pressure on both sides of the floor. There was a level of aggressiveness. Jeremy Grant was phenomenal. Anthony Simons had spurts, and I thought you saw a better version of Ant in Game 2 than you saw in Game 1 against the Warriors. And that trend continued, where I thought Ant was really good tonight. he just, every time the Pels had something, Ant had a finish, get to the rim, layup, or free throws, a pull-up three. I thought he was really, really aggressive tonight. I thought it was really good. But I think you've been building over 3 games for Ant, and we'll talk about him in a little bit. The flow of the game Friday night was a little disjointed, but certainly better than it was against the Warriors. But I thought you saw better stuff from Donovan in game 2 against the Warriors, or in the second game of the season, game 1 against the Pelicans. Jeremy was phenomenal, and they probably should have gone to him a little bit more. DA has some unfortunate stuff, the missed dunk, some sloppy entry passes or a sloppy entry pass from Anthony Simons. Chauncey Billups pointed out that they failed to get into a set. They couldn't execute down the stretch. It just looked like everything was off by a beat, and they just couldn't really rally after that. And even with that, it was a 2-point game. I thought that was mildly encouraging. Tonight, I think you saw, like, and I don't want to call it like the best possible version. Like, the Blazers shot well. Don't get me wrong. They finished the evening shooting 46, 40, 78 from the field, and they got 32 free throws, and they got 35 threes up. And I think those are pretty good indicators for the night. I think I like the shot distribution tonight. Jeremy with 17 shots, Anthony with 17 shots, Denny with 12, Scoot with 12, DA 9, Tumani 8, and then so on and so forth from there. I think on any given night, I want to see JG and Ant at around 17, 18 shots a night. I think that's a bare minimum. They don't get as many tonight because the final 6 minutes of the game was garbage time, which you'll love to see. But I want to see them. Those should be your shot leaders every night for everybody. Like, oh, I want to see Scoot shoot more. Like, I don't care. I'll go full stop. I don't. You want those two guys setting the tone, spacing the floor, allowing for other opportunities for everyone else to fit in, because those are your two best perimeter shooters. Those are the two guys, one on one side of the floor, one on the other, and it opens everything else up for everyone else. I hope everyone is getting to the point where they understand the value of those guys, okay? I know some of you are sitting there screaming the mountaintops, Jeremy needs to stop shooting, they need to trade him. They need a guy out there, and Jeremy is a hell of a shooter, but they need another guy on that floor that allows Scoot to attack, that allows Ant to attack, that allows Denny to attack. Otherwise, it's going to be an absolute hellscape. Jeremy and Ant, I thought, were very, 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 very good tonight. I thought they were very aggressive. Jeremy had a couple shots in the third quarter where the Pelicans decided they were going to try to push some things. And I thought Jeremy was incredible. He was 3 for 4 in the quarter, got 6 strips at the free throw line. And I had a fan in front of me say something about Jeremy Grant rebounding, and I was like, it's been interesting. Again, 5 rebounds doesn't sound like a lot, but Jeremy's not a guy who typically rebounds, and so 5 is kind of a bit. He also had 2 steals and 4 blocks. So Jeremy was an absolute monster tonight. Ended up getting 12 trips to the free throw line, but I thought in the third quarter specifically, he just decided, hey, the Pels are making a little bit of a push here. Chauncey calls a timeout. Jeremy was like, I'm going to just do my thing here. And I thought that was huge. That's what you have him around for. Like, those moments are huge. Like, hey, get on my back. Let's make sure we don't mess around here. Also, Denny was crucial. DA was crucial. I mean, all 3 of those guys, you went 3 of 6 Denny, 3 of 4 for DA, 3 of 4 from JG, and you had 9, 6, and 10. So you had, 25 of their 34 points came from those 3 guys, and they did it very efficiently. And I know that was kind of like a nice little way to snuff out what the Pels were trying to do, despite CJ McCollum hitting insane floater after insane floater after insane floater. CJ's touch is truly otherworldly. Like, his ability to finish, like, in unique ways. The runner, like, he had a floater that he just let go, and it looked like somebody just picked it up and dropped it in the rim, like, from the heavens. And I was like, you put that kind of touch on Scoot Henderson, and boy, are you cooking with gas real quick. But I thought CJ did a hell of a job for them all night long, really, and nobody else showed up. And a big part of that, I think, is Zion working his way in after being sick for a week. I talked to the Pels guys, and they told me that they were shocked that he played Friday night. So I'm sure he's still kind of fighting through that. He also got a case of Donovan Clinganitis. It's where you try to drive on the 7'2", 290-pound guy in the rim, and he sends your shit backwards over and over again. I'm kind of stunned by how good Donovan has been as a rim protector in the minutes that he's out there, because so often you get guys that bring their arms down, or they bite on pump fakes, or they get off balance, or they take a step and they lean forward, like just stuff that rookie bigs do. He's not perfect, but he has truly great shot blocking / rim protecting ability. Truly great. I tweeted this out, and here's my first unhinged take of the season. I'll put a little sounder on that later on, as breaking chains or something like that, coming out with a chainsaw. But currently, or going into the game, Donovan Clingan had a 9+% block rate, which is like the same as Manute Bol and Mark Eaton and Victor Wembanyama and Alonzo Mourning, like the truly great rim protectors and shot blockers. And I just watching him play, it's not a smoke and mirrors thing. Like it's real. Like that's a real, like you see summer league and you see the preseason, you see the college tape. You're like, okay, let's see what it looks like. It's real. And it's not going to have the full-on Victor Wembanyama, like, oh, hell no. Like, when you see him on the backside of the play, like, he can get to that, and I'm not going to go. But DC blocked Zion twice, and after that, Zion settled for, like, 3 different pull-ups, and you could see DC lurking. I saw Ingram one time drive in and do the nope. I'm going to go back the other way, because you just... Talking to players from the Warriors, players and coaches from the Warriors and Pelicans, like the thing that they all say when I ask them about Donovan is, he's so big. He's so big. And it's just, he is enormous. His wingspan is ridiculous. And he's got very, very, very good timing and instincts at that stuff. So it's going to be really fun and interesting to monitor that going through the season. Denny is struggling as a shooter and continuing to do everything else. I really, really, really like what I've seen from Denny on the everything else scale. I haven't really seen him take a shot that I don't think that I didn't like. So in that vein, that's a positive. But he's got to figure the shooting out. And I'm not even talking about the threes. Like game 1 against the Pels, he had, I want to say 4 shots at the rim that rimmed out. Which that's unusual for him. He's like a 68% finisher in general. And I want to say he's like 75% transition. He got a run-out dunk and then knocked down a 3 tonight. And I think that kind of, settled the nerves for him, which I thought was a big, big deal. DA hits his first 3 of the season, an above-the-break catch-and-shoot 3 early in the game. Again, I don't think he's going to take a ton, but I do genuinely believe it's like 2's probably going to be the number. And I'd rather have him take 2 threes than 2 additional, like 18, 20-footers. What's been interesting so far is that it's only 3 games, but DA's touch in the mid-range has looked really weird. Like really, really, really weird, which is unusual for him because he's one of the best mid-range shooters in the modern NBA, like in the past 50 years. Like he's that good in both volume and consistency. So I was a little caught off guard by that, and I almost wonder if he's like thinking about threes or if he's like changed something, like some little dynamic in his shot, so he's not quite line driving threes. I need to ask him about it. They had to blow out of there quick tonight because they're on their way to Sacramento. Like they were getting to the airport within the hour by the time I got out of there. So, but as it pertains to DA's game, I thought DA played a phenomenal game tonight. I thought he was incredibly aggressive. He went 8 around the rim. Chauncey, I think he mentioned it in the press conference. If not, it was when him and I were walking down the hall. So I'm sorry if I'm repeating him or not. But he talked about how DA had to go get his off the rim tonight. And he did. 6 offensive rebounds. You had 12 offensive rebounds between Donovan and DeAndre. They had 22 on the night. That's nuts. That's a lot more possessions, ladies and gentlemen. We love to see those. So 17 and 12 for DA. He's finding a way to get into the box score with some blocks or some steals generally. He's attempting things that are new for him. Taking threes, putting the ball on the floor, looking for the second side pass. He's failing at certain things, but the fact that he's attempting kind of gives me some kind of quasi hope, I guess, that maybe he can unlock a few other levels. Sure, would I like him to screen better? Yes. Would I like him to be engaged in every single possession better? Yes. All those things, but like if I can get some growth out of him, awesome. Great. But again, I thought he was tremendous tonight. Toumani Camara continues to be very, 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 very good. I talked to briefly after the game. He had a little moment where he had his run-out dunk, and he told me, he's like, yeah, my leg's not great. I realized, like, when I took off, like, I may not make this. So he just kind of pushed it over the rim. He's like, yeah, I need to chill a little bit. But I think, too, has been tremendous defensively. And I think the increased pressure that I think Jeremy's actually been playing very well defensively, to be honest. But I think the increased pressure that they're putting on the ball with Jeremy, Denny, and two, especially with Clingan back there after he's had a couple of blocks, it's kind of put this force field that pushes the offense out a little bit, and you're finding guys being more disruptive. The Blazers finished the night with 8 blocks, 9 steals, and I think they're going to be a team that's high in blocks and steals as a team. I don't think you're going to see. I mean, you're going to see Donovan. His per 36 block numbers are going to be bonkers. But I don't think you're going to see guys that are like up and down the roster getting a ton of steals. But I think you're just going to see opportunistic steals. And it's going to lead to some stuff like they had a turnover and then it got a little sloppy and one came back the other way and it ended up to a 2-on-1 where CJ and Herb, I think, played it back and forth and just turned it into a little layup on the backside. But otherwise, I think that starting group played really, really, really well. And then Scoot Henderson came in tonight. The poor shooting continues, but I thought he had a good floor game. 4 turnovers is kind of like, okay. But I did like his vision, even if he was a step late or the pass was a little off. Like, I'm picking nits here. But I would say his floor game was pretty good with the exception of the turnovers. The Blazers a little high on turnovers tonight with 16. But in general, I think it's an improvement. It's much more comfortable. The things that I think that I was not disappointed in, but like the things I would call into question, he took 4 threes. I didn't have an issue really with any of the threes. It was more the mid-range stuff and some of like the hang dribble, hezzy pull-up jumpers. I was like, you can probably work for something a little bit better than that. And I bet you when they go look at the film, they'll be like, yeah, again, sometimes you have to take those. Like, in the clock's winding down, like, you don't want to wait until 1 second. You'd rather take the shot at, like, 2 or 3 because then the defense doesn't know they have to go up and time you. Like, stuff like that is fine. I'm not too worried about it. But it's something like in my notebook, my literal notebook, it's like, okay, let's keep an eye on this. Holistically, 30,000 foot down. What they did tonight, I think, is the recipe for success for them. Jeremy, Ant leading the way, and then 2 of the other guys following along. Whether it's Denny, whether it's DA, whether it's Toumani, whether it's Donovan, or one of the kids, Chris or Ryan, Bari, like, in a given night, somebody can give you that 10, 12, 15-point night. Like, that's what the NBA is, I think you look at that and you go, okay. And I think this is the model, getting to the free throw line a lot because you're getting downhill, getting up at least 35 threes, shoot well enough from 2 to make it matter, pummel teams on the offensive glass without getting killed in transition. And I believe the transition actually ended up being okay. Where is my fast break points line? I totally lost it. I'll come back to it anyways. There it is. It was 13-19 in favor of Portland. So what's interesting is the second chance points was 25-25, even though Portland had 7 more offensive rebounds. So, whatever. It's kind of what it is. But I think this is kind of a marker for what you're looking for. So there you go. All right, let's get into some of these questions. You guys sent in a bunch. Let me refresh this. My co-host Joe Simons asked, "When I have a question, when do you sleep?" When I'm dead. That's pretty much it. from Guy BM at Guy_BM370. Why do you think this team has reserved from playing a great ball movement style basketball we saw against the Jazz in preseason to an ISO offense again? I think that ball movement type of play can get this team much further. Number one, they're not that heavy of ISO. So I have access to Second Spectrum. Second Spectrum tells me the Portland Trail Blazers are smack dab in the middle in isolation possessions overall. In isolations per 100, the Blazers are 23rd in the NBA. So, not a lot. Not a lot. I think people are confusing a lot of times what an actual isolation is versus like an action where you get a switch and you match up hunt, and then it ends up being you attack and get downhill and you swing and it turns into a spot up. And you think, oh, he's isoing. It's like, no, there's not that many isolation possessions. Like it's less than 15 per game. Whereas you want to take a look at what actual isolation basketball looks like. The Boston Celtics are double that. So the Boston Celtics, the ball movement team, average almost 30 isolations a game because that's what they do. They match up hunt until they get it, and they get downhill after our defense collapses and they kick out for three, and they take a bajillion of them. So the other part of this is I saw somebody say that the Blazers need to pass the ball more. The Blazers are smacked. You know what? I can actually pull this up. Let's go. Passes by team in the season. All right. So, in general, the Blazers have been a bottom of the league passing team in the Damian Lillard era, and that was definitely a thing. As of right now, the Portland Trail Blazers are 5th in passes. So, ball's moving around. It's moving around more than it has. I think a lot of people don't like the general stylings of Jeremy Grant or Anthony Simons, and they think that's the entirety of no, that's the basis and the framework. And the reason those guys do that is because the other guys aren't capable of beating their defenders. And everyone's like, well, why don't you do this? It's it's not NBA 2K. Take the Warriors, for example. It was well, they play with such beautiful... Yes. When you have the gravity of the greatest shooter in NBA history and maybe the best 4-on-3 decision maker in the NBA in Draymond Green, and then another top 20 shooter in NBA history in Buddy Hield, all of a sudden it warps defenses. And it makes you make decisions. You don't want to get beat by Steph Curry. So you blitz and you trap him. And now all of a sudden you're playing 4-on-3 downhill with a team that is built to play 4-on-3 downhill. So it's personnel based more than anything else. If the Blazers had there's 2 on-ball creators, 3 if you're talking about Denny adding into this as a secondary guy. But Scoot and Ant right now are the only guys that can get by their man and create chase without needing a secondary action. Jeremy can to an extent, and that's a lot of times via his post game. That's where he can draw that secondary defender over. But 2's not beating guys off the bounce. Denny can with power. DA is not a guy who's putting the ball on the floor and really drawing that. So you have to understand what personnel limitations are, and you just have to maximize those. So would I like to see them move the ball around better, more efficiently? Yes. But the other part of that also centers around having guys who can shoot the ball and stretch a defense out, which puts defenses in chase because they're worried about guys who can make shots. So it's all very cyclical. All right. CJ, at Corey J, does Rob Will play any minutes when he is healthy? If he does, is it only to build trade value? I wouldn't want Clingan playing any less than he does right now just to get Rob on the court. Well, Rob's already better than Donovan Clingan right now. So, that's a thing. And you can't not play a guy. I hammered this in the preseason, and I saw somebody did a whole Reddit post about how stupid I am. And it's okay, guys, so here's how this is going to work. Rob Williams III is a defensive player of the year capable kind of player when he was healthy. if he's 75% of that when he comes back, he's going to go out there because that makes things easier for other guys. Donovan Clingan is physically not capable of playing really more than 20 to 25 minutes right now. And that's stretching it. What did he end up with tonight? Donovan Clingan played 13 minutes and 9 seconds. And he was very good in those minutes. But they're keeping his shifts short because if you watch his shifts, he's huffing and puffing by the end of them because the NBA is bigger, stronger, longer, faster. And that 7'3", 290-pound guy is pinging up and down the floor. It's going to take him probably 6 months to 8 months and a whole season of NBA workouts to be ready to handle the full minutes load that he will later on in his career. That is the big, big, big thing. It's that's the thing. So I'm not worried about Donovan. They're going to get him the minutes he can handle, and that'll be good. Right now, if you look at Jabari Walker, he played 14 minutes tonight. That's Rob's minutes right there. That's those minutes right there. And then you take a look at the rest of the bench. Chris Murray, 15 minutes, Duop 3. The garbage minutes at the end, you had another 10 minutes. That's how you find the minutes for Shaedon and Rob. It's right there. Right there. And I don't think Tumani's probably going to play 34 a night. I think you probably see 2 cut down to 28. I think that's probably where he ultimately ends up. So that's where you find those minutes. It's going to be it's not going to be an easy thing to do, but I think it's a very clean cut. But yeah, they're going to try to get Rob out there because they're going to try to rehab his trade value. That's a real thing. I don't think it's a guarantee that they're going to trade him, but I think it's that they need to do that at bare minimum. Let's see. Sam at Blazer fan at 42069. There you go. Nice. Has the Blazers' success in the paint in the past 2 games mostly come from the fact that New Orleans doesn't have a true 5, or have there been tangible improvements that translate in other games against bigs? There's a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B. Warriors aren't very big, but they're very smart. Draymond Green is obviously one of the best defenders of all time. Kevon Looney is very underrated and very strong, and actually serves as a pretty decent rim protector despite being 6'9" and ground bound. But you certainly are taking advantage of teams that are smaller. It'll be interesting to see what that looks like. The Kings aren't enormous, but they're certainly bigger, but they don't really have a rim deterrent outside of Alex Len. Sabonis isn't that. He eats up a lot of space. That happens. But, I don't think you're really going to, let's see what it looks like on Wednesday against the Clippers. Zubac he's a deterrent. He was giving Scoot fits in the preseason. Let's see what it looks like with Zoo down there. Kai Jones, who's a little bit different, Derek Jones Jr., who comes over from the weak side and just absolutely gobbles things up. But yeah, I think that there's a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B, but I do think they are being more forceful, for sure. But also, my God, are the Pelicans soft on the inside. Holy, zero resistance. And you can say, they're missing so-and-so, and I'm that doesn't solve the fact that there's no one there to deter shots. And I think Missy can get there because he's an athletic freak. His body control at his size is pretty crazy. But he's still newer to the game. He's only been playing basketball for 5-6 years. So it's going to be a little while until he figures it out. But yeah, I think it's a wait and see. I do feel like they're getting downhill more, and I do feel like Denny is a big part of that, and I think other guys feed off it. I thought Ant was really aggressive tonight getting downhill, which led to the free throws. Same with Jeremy. So I think early on in the season, there's a concerted effort to get downhill, to get points in the paint, to get in transition, put a defense under pressure, and as Chauncey says, put them in the chase. With DC and DA playing well, is the main hurdle for DC getting more minutes his endurance? Yes. Jesse T at JTA Coog, I was critical of the coaching staff ability to get this group moving in the right direction. It might be changing my opinion. Guys, it's been 3 games. Good, bad, or otherwise. Do you see the same type of growth early on? They're not good enough to compete with top talent yet. I'm fine with losses with this type of group. This is the last 2 nights is it's not proof of concept, but it's the general idea. The coaching staff is the coaching staff. And I know people are going to have their thoughts, and I already talked about Chauncey. The main thing for me is are they motivated? Are they playing hard? Is there growth and development? Like, if you're watching Toumani Camara play and you don't think there's been growth and development, like, you need to go play and watch another sport. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Scoot, I think, is lagging behind, but I don't. What does it look like at game 25? You know, this stuff's not linear. But if they're playing hard, they're playing aggressive, and they're showing like micro skill growth, I'm fine with it. T-Man at the Bad God Mango. Okay, that works. Do you see Denny getting more offensive load as the season progresses, even with no trades? How do you think this rotation look once Rob Will is back? Do you think Clingan just gets DMPs if Rob is active? Last part of that, I don't think Donovan's necessarily getting DMPs like by default. And I still think they're going to find a way to get him out there. There might be somebody else who gets their minutes cut drastically because DC has been pretty damn good. But I also think that Donovan's limitation fitness-wise is going to keep him in like the 14 to 16 minutes. I don't think he's going to push through that. And especially as we get around Christmas and they're like game 30 and he's played more games in 3 months than he plays all of a college basketball season, and that rookie wall just smashes him in the mouth. I think that stuff's going to sort stuff out. As far as Danny getting more of an offensive load, I asked Chauncey Billups about it pregame, and he said, yeah, we're trying to find ways to get him more involved, get him down. Like the tone, the tenor, all of the things around Denny, like get him downhill, because he's such a load. Like, he's every bit of 6'9", 240. He is a big, big dude, and you see him leaning on guys all the time. You can just tell, like, they want nothing to do with the opponents, want nothing to do with him. Now, he just needs to start finishing. And I think the playmaking stuff will get better and better as they get down the road. So, all right, let's finish this up with there's one more question here. Rob Severs, at Rob Severs 11. Sorry, I missed that one there. What happens when Sharp comes back? Seems tough to put 2 on the bench. I don't know if they would immediately throw Toumani on the bench. I don't know necessarily if, because Shaedon got hurt so early in camp, I don't think he ever got the opportunity to show that he's ready for that starting spot, and 2 might have just seized it. So maybe they stick with 2. Maybe. It would be if Toumani is playing as well as he has played through these first couple of games, and the Blazers are doing solid. It's hard for, even as important as Shaedon is, it's hard for me to see them just be like, all right, Shaedon, you're starting. It's tough. It's tough to do that. He might have to go out there and come off the bench and earn it. And then you throw a stick down and see who comes out alive. Which, not to say for skill-wise, I would never have bet against Toumani Camara. That is a mean dude. He is a mean dude. I mean that in the most complimentary manner. He is a tough son of a bitch. I know how important Shaedon is to the future and all those things. 2 has done everything to earn that spot. It was not given to him. So, all right, let's take a look at the upcoming game tomorrow against the Sacramento Kings. First road game of the season. They'll take on the Sacramento Kings, who have been in a funky spot. They were firmly in control of the game against the Lakers last night, and then they got LeBron James'd. 16 points in the fourth quarter, and I think all of it came in a 5-minute burst, and they just punched the Kings in the face, and they kind of rolled over, which is weird for the Kings. I think they've been a tough team the last couple of years. I think they're still trying to fit DeMar DeRozan in. There's just some weirdness to that team, as you expect in the early season. It's who you are in October is not who you are in April or May, historically. So, or I should say at least April. So it's going to be interesting. If the Blazers can come out, and they didn't start the game against the Pelicans tonight great, but once they got going, they just started bombing 3 after 3 after 3, Ant and Jeremy, and it got things running. And then they just started kind of throwing haymakers, and they opened up a lead. And if you can get that kind of situation, then maybe you can find yourself getting a back-to-back win. It's going to be tough to win against Sacramento and Los Angeles against the Clippers. I'm really interested to see what that looks like in the Intuit Dome with that crazy fan wall and that weird Clippers team. Like, I don't really know what to make of them yet, but there's some interesting stuff going on with the Sacramento team. They can really put some stressors on the Blazers. with some stuff that's bothered them as it pertains to their transition defense, which did look better against the Pelicans, both game 1 and game 2. But De'Aaron Fox is such a freaking nightmare in the open court that if you mess around, he'll be at your rim in a lickety split. Wow, I just said lickety split. I'm old, so sorry, apologies. But yeah, I look at where they're at right now, and I think of the things that they could expose from the things that the Kings should do well. Do the Kings tend to do they opt to slow things down and play more half court because they do have Sabonis and they do have DeRozan, they want to grind the game to a halt and limit possessions? I'm not really sure they know what their identity is yet. Is Keegan Murray going to be higher up on the pecking order or still like a really good role player? And so I think there's some stuff that they need to sort through that they'll use the Blazers to sort through. And how the Blazers respond to that, I think, is going to be the big key. If they can keep playing physical, aggressive, and find a way to, even in the lulls, to be disruptive and get some transition opportunities, get some transition points, and find places to be successful in the margins to cover up, paper up over the other stuff, then I think it's going to be at least a competitive game. And that's to me what you want to see from this team. More games like game 1 and 2 against the Pelicans, significantly less games like you saw against the Warriors. All right. That'll do it here. I appreciate you guys. Thank you all so very much. You can find me tomorrow morning, tomorrow afternoon. All blends together. 10 to the fan, noon to 3 with my co-host, Dusty Hera. We'll recap the weekend's games. We'll talk about the football action up and down the board. All of your sportsing. Then we'll have the first road show for Rip City wrap-up following the game against the Kings. I'll be down at the studio with Joe and Tyree watching the game. That'll be the pattern for the game, and hopefully I'll be able to throw the watch party up. We have a little Tyree's got the sports anchor office. We've got a couple TVs in there where we'll be watching the game. So hopefully I'll be able to do the show from in there. And for the first one of the season, if I can do it, I will open it up to everyone. It should be accessible with it being over the air. I'm not 100% certain of how that's going to work. I'm still working through all the technical stuff, but I will do what I can to make it as accessible to everyone early on. Other than that, I'll have a couple articles coming on the Patreon here very soon. You guys have a wonderful, wonderful night. Like, rate, review, subscribe. Help us grow the show here on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. Share us with your friends. Share us with your family. You can find us on social media at Danny Marang, at Jack Ramsays. Email the show, jackramsays@gmail.com. Take care and have a wonderful, wonderful week. Enjoy this fall weather, whatever this is. Ugh. And I'll catch you at least on TV following the game tomorrow night. Take care. Talk soon.